Alright, so the 2.3 trailer had me relatively scared, considering that I sort of like Albedo. You know, just a little tiny bit. So, naturally, I sat down and started to go over if it was realistically a viable move on MiHoYo's part to kill him off. But with what's coming out suggesting that Shadows Amid Snowstorms is an event/character quest and not an Archon quest, it's safe to say that the alchemist will, at the very least, live, even if he might get a little bit scathed. And that's great, but I still have all these thoughts in my head about Albedo's connection to the plot, so here we are. Okay, editing note time, because, see, I wrote this script on the 22nd, and I knew that the event itself would come out on the 25th, but I went, hey, it's not a big deal, because, you know, it'll only be part 1 out by the time I get this video created. There's no way that there's going to be a giant lore dump in part 1, right? And then Albedo laid his heart out to the Traveler, so there are some things in here that I present as speculation, which is no longer speculation, because Albedo just looks you in the eye and tells you it. That being said, I already have the audio and everything really recorded, and I'm working on the editing part. So rather than scrapping all of that and redoing it all, there's gonna be some awkward moments in the script, but it's all there to lead up to the eventual final point I make, so I think it's okay still. Yeah, like, go back to the actual video now, just wanted that as a heads up. Sorry about that. 2.3 is really throwing me for a loop, apparently. Obviously, we know that Albedo and his master are linked to Khanri'ah thanks to the form of alchemy that the two use. It's also not a very well-kept secret about Albedo being a homunculus. At the end of his quest, he notes that his life force resonates with Durin's and believe it's due to his master, Reindraughter, having created the dragon. Reading in between the lines of that, and, you know, looking at his passive's name, it didn't take long for people to realize that Albedo was probably a homunculus created by his former master. But what does that mean? Well, when going through his character stories, it's noted that Albedo had been exploring domains with his master since the moment he was born. As they worked together, Albedo was often given tasks by his master and told that if he failed, then he'd be left behind. Then, the two found the Heart of Nabarius, an artifact left in some dungeon, and Albedo was left behind with a letter of recommendation to give to Alice and a mission to learn what the true meaning of this world is. Now, that wording is a little troubling, considering that we know that there are in fact multiple worlds, a fact that Albedo also seemingly knows and has long since accepted, as he was able to determine that we were not from Teyvat within minutes of meeting us. And where would he have gotten that knowledge if not from his old master? Who, I should probably mention at this point, is also likely Gold, a Khanri'ah alchemist who is noted in the book Breeze Amidst the Flowers as the one who created Durin and, based on the drops from the enemies, the Rift Hounds. Each of Gold's creations were given a category, with the Rift Hounds being the Alsof, Durin being Humus, and the greatest work, which is theoretically Albedo, being Creaticus. So, in short, the same alchemist that caused the calamity leading to Khanri'ah's destruction, the Abyss Order's creation, and pretty much everything that's going on with our sibling, is the one that gave Albedo the order to try and figure out the true meaning of this world. In his story, Albedo reflects on the possibility that this is Reinhardter's way of telling him to go out and find happiness. But what if it's not? After all, from the whole threatening to abandon him thing that I mentioned earlier, Reinhardter doesn't come across as the most parental? So if the goal was not for Albedo to go live a happy and fulfilling life, then it's possible that Reinhardter was looking for Albedo to discover why Teyvat and visions were created and why Celestia must watch over it to ensure that the divine principle is upheld, a purpose that we, our sibling, and Khanri'ah seemingly went against. And while we can get a lot from that, mainly Albedo's role, with there being a 99.9% chance that Reinhardter ends up being an antagonist, Albedo is obviously going to play a great part in identifying, finding, and fighting them. After all, besides Alice, Albedo seems to be the only person who knows who his master is. Plus, there's also the ever-so-ominous prophecy that was released when Dane was introduced. The prophecy states, The original calamity has been overturned, yet the island in the sky set the earth to burn. Chalk pursues gold in this time inopportune. The eclipse is swallowed by the crimson moon. The future must atone for bygone mistakes, as the bond familiar falters and breaks. Of the same blood, elders in the youth. Such is the cycle of the world in truth. Dane, what is that strand of blonde hair to you? Someone you must kill, or the object of your penitence? The first line is a clear reference to Celestia, it being the island in the sky. Knowing that it has set the earth to burn suggests that Celestia has somehow decided to either part ways with Teyvat or to destroy it, probably because whatever the purpose of the world was had already failed. The second line, meanwhile, is a clear reference to Mr. Chalk Prince himself, Albedo, looking for his master, Gold, when the eclipse is swallowed by the crimson moon. Now, honestly, I'm not sure what that means. However, I think it's important to note that before the calamity, the Eclipse dynasty ruled Khanri'ah, and that crimson agates are made from the combination of concealed life force with an energy unique to Dragonspine, according to their description. So it's possible that something's gonna go down there at Dragonspine when someone from Khanri'ah shows up, so yeah, keep Kaya and Dan away from there, I guess. The point is, Albedo will start to chase after his old master, which will lead to the third line. The future, which is likely our present, atoning for the mistakes of the past. And based on the fact that it's blood bonds that are going to be broken, it doesn't look good for us and our sibling. Or Dane, for that matter, who seemingly needs to kill our sibling to repent for his sins and his part in Khanri'ah's fall. But what would cause Albedo to start looking for his old master? As of right now, Albedo seems pretty content with the knights, the traveler, and his Aunt Alice and his little sister Klee. His family that, quite frankly, I don't think Reinhardt ever expected Albedo to have. But Albedo's story notes that he sees his master as his only kin and that their relationship is the most important to him. So it would only make sense then for Albedo to run to his master's aid, especially if he learned that they were in danger. Because here's the thing. Nobrius is actually the name of a demon, and Genshin obviously doesn't shy away from using myth and lore from all kinds of cultures. So it would make sense then that if Albedo were to learn more information about the artifact the two had found before parting, he would be worried and go after his master. There's also the fact that Nobrius in particular is said to be able to make men cunning in all arts and science, something that would definitely be tempting for Albedo, who is talented and passionate about both. It may even be that Reinhardt isn't evil as suspected and ran away with the artifact for Albedo's own benefit. However, given Albedo's clear growth from his time in Mondstadt, I can't imagine much would become of this if it were the case. I imagine he'd be able to have the strength to either turn down or overcome whatever weird demon deal would be created, which may have been Reinhardt's goal with sending him on this final mission to find the meaning of the world in this version of events. I guess it all boils down to whether or not you want to see Reinhardt as evil or a good parent. But either way, this is realistically a long way off, which is good, for me at least. I don't want Albedo to die, and if he's integral to the plot, he's at least safe until the Khanri'ah arc, so yeah, he's sticking around. More koi.